Hello YouTube family, thanks for joining me on another video. And if you like the videos, please hit the like button, please subscribe, you can ring the bell for notifications. And let's dive into today's video, which is about the lying liars and the lies they tell. I think that was the title of the book written by Al Franken, something like that. But today's video is about the lies of the right wing, the Republican Party. The nonstop. And it's not just that they lie. So many of the things they say are easily debunkable lies. It's things you can just look up and see that it's not true. It makes no sense to me. But I want to start with Senator Cotton on Fox and Friends.
Yeah, and many people who have not lost any income at all are going to get money as well. I mean, young people who didn't file tax returns last year but are now working at fancy investment banks or law firms are going to get cash as well. That's one of our objections. This bill was so poorly targeted. Look, we were more than willing to work with the Democrats, as we did multiple times last year, to pass a targeted relief bill that would help those people who have actually been hurt by coronavirus. But look how crazy some of the Democratic ideas are. I mean, they had a chance on Saturday morning to stop checks from going to prisoners, from going to the Boston bomber, for instance. And on that vote, they declined. Every single Democrat wanted to continue the practice of sending checks to prisoners. They had a chance to turn down money for sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. That was my amendment. Again, they turned it down. They had a chance to stop money from going to schools that are closed. They want to keep sending money to schools that are closed and not even teaching their kids in person. They turned it down. It just goes to show how radical their ideas are.
Is that true that Dylan Roof, the guy who walked into that church in Charleston, South Carolina and killed all those people, he's going to get a check?
Every prisoner in the United States, if they have any tax forms filed, is eligible for a check under this bill. The Democrats had a chance to stop that from happening on Saturday morning, and they voted it down. I suspect you'll be hearing more about that next year on the campaign trail.
So Tom Cotton, and what he's doing on Fox News is something, Fox News lies very often, the same way Tom Cotton lies on this episode of Fox and Friends, which is lying by omission. It's a way of turning the truth into a lie. So Tom Cotton here is making it out like there's something untoward with the Democrats' coronavirus bill because these $1,400 payments, people who are incarcerated can get the payments. And he's pointing to that like it's this horrible thing that Democrats are doing. And as you noticed, in the end there, he also brought up, this, I think you can expect to hear more of this on the campaign trail next year, meeting in the midterms, that Republicans are going to push this lie that Democrats somehow targeted convicts or some type of horrible people for payments. And the thing is, what Tom Cotton is not disclosing in that segment is that the $600 payment earlier this year when Trump was still in office and Republicans still had the Senate that Cotton and his Republican colleagues voted for, and last year when Trump was still in office and Republicans still controlled the Senate, the $1,200 check that was sent out, both of those payments had the same provisions in them, meaning that if someone who is incarcerated filed a tax return since 2018, they also would get a payment. The $1,200 payment or the $600 payment. That's the thing. Cotton's making it out like Democrats are doing something different by giving money to cons, by giving money to criminals. No. It's the same thing that was done with the $600 payments and the $1,200 payments. No difference. And that's the lie. The intent here is to deceive the Fox News audience. The intent is deception, and the lie is through the omission. what Tom Cotton said was true in this $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package, that $1,400 payment, if you are incarcerated and you filed a tax return since 2018 and you meet the financial criteria, you will get a payment. What he's not saying is that he voted for 2 previous payments that did the same exact thing. That's the omission. He voted for it twice, and now he's hitting it like it's something new. It's not. It's not new. It's the same as it's always been. Those provisions haven't changed. He also had hit Bernie Sanders, saying that Bernie Sanders wants to send $1,000 checks to families that make $250,000 per year, and Republicans wanted to make the aid more targeted. Talking about in this Biden relief bill. Another thing he's not mentioning with that is the previous relief packages. Also, the $600 he voted for, the $1,200 he voted for, also went to couples who made up to $250,000 per year. I mean, it's no difference. The only difference is Republicans wanted to water down the relief package that Biden was given so that when they're campaigning in 2022, they can say, we did more for you than Biden did. We did more for you than the Democrats did. But that's a trick Fox News uses commonly, where they'll say something that is objectively true, but they omit the part of the truth that debunks their narrative. And that's what Tom Cotton's doing here, by saying that. And the thing is, they're pointing out people, and the Fox and Friends lady also jumped in and said, "You mean Dylan Roof will get money?" And Tom Cotton says, "Well, if he's filed a tax return, then yeah, he'll get a payment." And they're pointing out, these heinous criminals. There's only so many Machine Gun Kellys and Al Capone types that we have in prison. There's only so many killers. There's only so many serial killers. There's only so many mass murderers that we have in prison. Around half our prison population is non-violent drug offenders. And one thing they're not going to say when they're making this propagandish push that's a lie to begin with, is they're not going to make some statement like, "Oh, you mean some guy who got caught with marijuana 3 times under a state that has the 3 strikes law, and he's got a wife and kids that are struggling financially, could get a payment from this coronavirus payments?" Because there's probably even Republicans that, if they heard that, they would think, I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me that some guy who's been hit with 3 strikes law is now serving a 12-year sentence for a minuscule amount of marijuana possession. His family, he's getting a payment. It'll help his family, his wife, his kids, whatever, mother, father, whoever. As they're trying to point out, heinous criminals and make it out like that's the target group. That's not the target group. They just exist in this country, so yeah, they'll get a check, they'll get a payment as well, just like everyone else that falls into the targeted group. And that is one of the aspects of lying I wanted to point out. Is this the kind of thing that Tom Cotton was doing on Fox and Friends, where he's lying through omission. His intent is to deceive the viewer, and he's lying through omission. It's a lie start to finish. And now I want to play a clip of Lauren Boebert, everybody's favorite.
There was an altercation outside of my restaurant where a man was physically beat to death. There were no weapons involved. He was beat to death by another man's hands. I have a lot of young girls who work in my restaurant. and we needed an equalizer.
So Lauren Boebert, they're arguing over a gun control bill in Congress. And the gun control bill is the arguments over these expanded background checks. Republicans are making horrible arguments. Lauren Boebert is talking about this guy who was beat to death outside of her restaurant in Colorado. The problem there is it's not true. She made it up. There was a guy who died down from her restaurant outside on the street from a drug overdose, but there's no record from the police there in Colorado of someone being beat to death outside of a restaurant. She made the man up. Then she had him beat to death in her make-believe story. I mean, when your stance to argue a point is to start out with a lie, you're losing the argument from the get-go. When you've got to make up false facts, you're already losing the argument from the start. But that is one of the examples of Republicans just flat out lying, telling a stupid lie that's easily researchable. If there was a man who was beat to death outside her restaurant in Colorado, there would be news reports of it, there would be police records of it. There is nothing. It doesn't exist. What she said didn't happen. And there's the other type of lie you have, which is, I'm sure not all that uncommon with Lauren Boebert, just making crap up. And now I'm going to play a couple of videos for you of Madison Cawthorn.
I know it. We all know it. Well, Mr. Speaker, you can come and take them. With that, I yield back.
And that was Madison Cawthorn making statements there at the same committee debate on the gun control bill.
Madison Cawthorn, raised in Hendersonville. He planned on serving his country in the Navy with a nomination to the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. But all that changed in the spring of 2014 when tragedy struck.
19-year-old Madison Cawthorn's recovery after he nearly died in a car crash outside Orlando.
He was in a terrible car accident in Daytona, Florida. The vehicle slammed into a concrete pylon and burst into flames.
And that was a portion of one of his campaign ads when he was running for the House of Representatives in North Carolina. Madison Cawthorn is the young man who's in a wheelchair serving a district in North Carolina. And he made his comments about the gun control bill, with that the delusion of they're coming to take your guns. No one has ever been coming to take your guns. No one's been trying to come and take your guns. And it's not happening now. Then his trying to look tough, sound tough, whatever he's trying to do, to say, come try and take my guns. And I played the clip from his campaign video for you because when he was running for his seat in the House, Madison Cawthorn claimed he had intended to go to the Naval Academy, and then he was in that car accident. He was paralyzed from the waist down. I think he had a break in his T12 vertebrae range. And even with the wreck, it's already been put out that he wasn't going to the Naval Academy. Before the accident, he had already been turned down to go to the Naval Academy. He still put it in his ads that he was going to do that till the wreck happened. But it's also not true. And the thing is, when you make false statements like that, particularly when you are a politician, eventually it's going to come out. There are plenty of people who have the ability to easily research that. And so, no, he was not going to the Naval Academy. He had been turned down. And then about the wreck, he was in the car with his friend. They had the car wrecked. The car was on fire. Cawthorn was seriously injured. And he claimed, while he was running for his seat, that his friend left him to die. And that's been debunked by his friend and his parents. His friend risked his life to drag Cawthorn out of the car. Madison Cawthorn's friend saved his life after that accident. And then Cawthorn accused him of leaving him to die to try and make himself look better in political ads. It's absurd. And that's the thing. I mean, if his family and his friend all went along with it, people might think, oh, I guess it's true. But no, the people around him were like, no, that's not what happened. And that's the thing. You have this party of people who are just constantly lying one way or another, whether it's the outright lies, the easily searchable lies, the disgusting lies, claiming your friend left you to die in a burning car wreck, or the deception like what Cotton did on Fox News, on the Fox and Friends show. And Fox News does that, like I said, all the time. That's a lot of how they lie. They'll turn the truth into a fabrication through omission, and like I said, the intent is to deceive. And it's just nonstop. And I don't get it. You know, people follow these people, they vote for these folks, and I assume they don't realize the lies. I don't know. I don't know if they don't keep up with anything but Fox News, and so as long as the liars keep going on Fox News and lying, people just buy it. I don't know. I don't get it. But it's insane to me. It's certainly disgusting. And they have no purpose in Congress. You've got the social media Republicans, the Cawthorns and the Boberts and the Marjorie Taylor Greens, whose whole purpose is to try and get famous, to try and go talk trash on Twitter and in front of news cameras, to lie like Bobert did. She got up in Congress and just lied about somebody being beat to death outside a restaurant. Cawthorn lied to his constituents in North Carolina about who he was. He wasn't going to the Naval Academy. He had been turned down. His friend did not leave him to die in a car wreck. His friend saved his life. But he tells these lies to make himself, I don't know if he's thinking it makes him sound tougher, if it makes him sound stronger. It just boggles my mind that, I mean, they not only do they live in a false reality, they're constantly creating more false reality around them and around their supporters, the people that watch this garbage. But that's my topic for today, is just the crazy lies, and they just keep coming. Hopefully people will wake up and stop voting for this garbage. But thanks for watching. Have a good day.